Do you or a family member struggle with digital distractions? Maybe feelings get hurt or directions are ignored by children in your household sometimes. These tools in our hands should enhance relationships and not cause estrangements of sorts, no matter how temporary. And yet sometimes we hear things kind of like this.
I want your undivided attention, for what?
Or maybe this.
Are you even listening to me?
Or we tell our kids something like this.
Turn off your TV! Turn off your TV!
Or maybe even sometimes you personally hear something like this.
Ryan, hand the phone over.
The struggle is real, right? Well, keep watching today to learn why it's not really the technology to blame. It's not a new problem, it's a very, very old problem. This is another Family Matters moment from Waypoint Church. I hope we can offer a relevant word of encouragement to you and your family today. I recently heard a quote from a French philosopher named Paul Virilio. Check this out. He wrote, "When you invent the ship, you invent the shipwreck. And when you invent the plane, you invent the plane wreck." So what does all this have to do with digital distractions, right? Well, as parents or spouses, we constantly want to determine causality with other people's faults, less so with ourselves. Our sin nature wants us to assign blame instantly to someone or something, and we want to escape it ourselves. Most of us would say ships can indeed get wrecked, but they're very useful. And planes can crash, but they're also very useful. What's important with any tool, any vessel, is using it wisely. Ships have to pay attention on the open sea to the weather, to avoid sharp rocks, and to even know how to steer it. It's the same thing with a smartphone, TV, video games, social media, or whatever. We all have a choice. Our kids do too. Our job is to equip and encourage to love God and others with when and how and why we use these tools. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 35, Paul says, "I want you to do whatever will help you serve the Lord best, with as few distractions as possible." Let me be super clear here. The context is in no way about electronics. He's talking about marriage and sexual union versus celibacy, these different paths that can be legitimate. And there's a principle at play about how pattern distractions can impact relational possibilities. Distractions of any type can potentially become idols. And that's crossing a line. In the parable of the sower and the seeds, Jesus explains the seed that fell among thorns, and he says, they are those who hear, but as they go on their way, they're choked by the cares, by the riches and the pleasures of life, and their fruit does not mature. In essence, it describes people who are perpetually distracted. They're less connected and ultimately even less effective. So let's raise families that don't get choked among the thorns. Let's ensure our relationship with God and others is helped and not hindered with what we do and when we do it and how and why we use these amazing tools that may so often be in our hands. I had to apologize to someone this week for making the wrong priority for distraction, right? I had to purposely disconnect to choose to connect. How ironic is that? So remember, it's all about relationships with Jesus and with others. The question is, what are we doing today to grow those relationships? Let's not lie to ourselves or deceive ourselves about what we should do and what we're really doing. Blessings on your family. May digital tools be a blessing and not a burden in your family and with your relationship with God and with others. We hope you'll join us this Sunday at 9 a.m. for prayer on Facebook via Waypoint Journey, 9:45 for streamed service on YouTube. Talk to you later.